Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So, welcome everyone. I see at least one of our winners here is present. Yay, Rachel. Okay, so welcome to the 2025 Women in GIS Map Contest highlights. So I thought I would invite you all to come and listen as our judges talk about their experience with the map contest and the various amazing maps. We had so many, I don't know how you guys did it. There were so many amazing maps entered this year. So my name is Jamie Dennis. I am the Outreach Committee Chair for Women in GIS. I'm going to be facilitating today. And before we jump in, I want to do a shout out to the Women in GIS sponsors, especially Esri, who is our platinum sponsor, who that enables us to have our awards and scholarships programs and a lot of other stuff that we do. And we do have several other amazing sponsors on our sponsor level. And if you go to the Women in GIS website, you'll see them listed on the bottom of the page there. A few announcements. Women in GIS is also holding currently opened nominations for our board of directors positions. And I'm going to put a little, oops, there's no waiting room anymore. There is the link. So if you or someone you know is interested in a leadership position here at Women in GIS, we encourage you to nominate, self-nominate, and the information is listed there on the website. Also a reminder that we have our monthly lightning talks on the first Friday of each month. And this year it's all about GIS in action. So pretty much any topic goes. It's a great way to get some get your project showcased out there and get some presentation experience with a very friendly audience. So those are really fun things to do. And if you don't want to present, certainly go and attend and watch the many great presentations that go on there. And other than that, I'm going to put a link also for our event calendar so you can see more of the wonderful things we do in there, including a book club that meets, and some of our chapter events are listed on there. And just a little, you're hearing it here first. Our professional development committee is very busy working on some new workshops coming up this year. So we're very excited to see that. You're going to see probably something on Survey 123, some data visualization, and we're hoping to get some resume and interview skills workshops going again. So keep an eye on that on the event calendar, on our social media, and all that. Okay, but you guys aren't here to listen to all those announcements. And now that I'm done with that, I want to give a shout out to our judges. And I'd like for each of them to do a brief little intro of themselves. And I will, let's see, what kind of order do I have it here? One of our judges, unfortunately, was unable to make it because he is ill. So, but we still have Anna Reiling, Juan Mei Ling, and Jennifer Basilis here. So since you guys are in that order on my screen, I'm going to have you each unmute and say a little bit about yourself. Jen Basilis, you're unmuted. Do you want to go first?
Oh, sure. Okay. Hi, I'm Jen Basilis. I'm a GIS project manager at the City of Tucson Parks and Recreation. I've been in GIS for approaching 21 years now. Sounds crazy. And cartography is something that I really enjoy. I don't get to make very many pretty maps, so I have made it a personal challenge to enter something into our regional Arizona AGIC conference every year. So that is how I practice my cartography.
Thanks, Jen. All right, next up, Anna, you're next to Jen on my squares.
I'm Anna Reiling. I own Four Corners Mapping in Durango, Colorado, and it's a cartography and GIS consulting firm. I work on all different types of cartographic projects, from poster size maps to report style maps to story maps to web maps. And my favorite types of maps are probably, well, my favorite types of maps to work on are trail maps.
Love it. Thanks, Anna. Okay, last but not least, Juan Mei.
Hi everyone, my name is Juan Mei and I work at NASA Earth Observatory. I've been in GIS for about 4 years, and cartography is my thing, so I'm glad everybody is here. Let's talk some maps.
Yay, great way to kick it off. Okay, so I thought we would start by going over each of the winning maps. Um, so I am going to share my screen real quick, and I'm also going to pop a copy in the chat of our story map if you haven't seen it already. I'm going to share. And have each of our judges give a little shout out about the maps. So without further ado, we'll just go in order that they're in our story map here. First up, the career and professional artistic map winner was Shira Ellenson's Tracking the Buzz 20 Years of Honeybees. What a fun map. Which one of you amazing judges would like to start first to say a little bit about Shira's map? Jen?
Sorry, and then I lost the mute button. Um, this map is very cool. Just the whole concept of it, everything relating together, the little drips of honey. I mean, just the colors. I thought this was just a wonderful and very. There's a lot of information in here. When you really dig into it, you can come up with interesting patterns, see how they change over time. I thought this was just a wonderful map. I yeah. The other two pipe up here.
Juan May, do you have
I
anything? Oh, Anna, go ahead. Sorry.
I of course like the combination of the hexagon, the binning, and how that ties into the theme. I saw this on her 30-day map challenge initially, so I recognized it when I saw the entry. And uh, and the dripping honey is, of course, very evocative, and all of the colors tying into each other. Yes, it is evocative of a real honeycomb.
Yeah, and along the lines of what the other two judges said basically in the same words, it's beautiful. So, one of the most important things when you look at a map is, do I understand what the topic is in 2 seconds? Because in the age of social media and scrolling and being millennials, we have a really short attention span. So if people can't figure out what a map is about in like 2 seconds, they kind of like scroll past it. So when I saw this, the first thing I saw was the dripping honey, the bee little thing next to the word buzz. I thought those were really creative, and just like the overall layout of the map is very aesthetically pleasing. That's what attracted my eyes to this map at first.
And you're probably going to hear me say this more than once. Excellent figure to ground differentiation, and just very easy to read, uncomplicated, nice space, and it can breathe. All the individual vignettes kind of breathe a little bit, so that's nice too.
I would say the one thing that I might have a little bit of a challenge with, if I was looking at this in person, is because, okay, this one is, how big is it? It's 44 inches wide, and that text box is, I'm using my screen right now. It's a 14-inch wide text box. This is so minor, but I might just break that into 2 columns to make it easier to read.
So even though yeah, because that would be on a big mat on a wall, right? So you're saying would think
Well,
of that.
think about trying to read something for 14 inches across and then going back and trying to, to find that line again, 14 inches to the left. It would just break it up visually and make it easier to read. But on a screen, it's fine because it's smaller, but it is a 44-inch wide map.
That's so interesting. How do you know the size of the map and like the point font?
I just opened it up in my PDF editor.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, she has links to the full-size PDFs and how they were. Remember, well, you guys did. The judges did anyway. Cool. All right. Should we move on to the next one? Ready? All right. So next up, Rachel Passer, who is actually on the call with us today. Congratulations, Rachel, on your amazing map bivariate analysis comparing migration and median age in South Carolina. So judges, your reactions.
I don't know, do we want to go in the same order or just jump in whenever,
Just-
whatever works? So this one was, when I saw this one, I was like, excellent figure to ground with the drop shadow. It really pops out the different counties. The color ramp is very easy to differentiate between the different colors. So there's no confusion of like exactly what I'm looking at. The one thing that I would suggest is on that legend where it says high, low, it would be nice to have an additional thing saying exactly what that is in there. Even though it's right above it, you still have to refer to another place to see. But I thought this was a really fantastic, very easy to read, very clear, simple, but very effective map.
Same thing that Jen said, plus I like the hierarchy of things. So like besides the map, the title is the largest thing. It's really easy to figure out what this is about. And I like that the South Carolina Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office logo and label are sort of on a transparency. And just the hierarchy of, you know, the legend and everything, it's really readable.
I think Rachel presented this for a lightning talk, right? Isn't that right? Because I saw this one before, and I think that it's a part of a series. And what I like is that it's very trimmed down for, I think that it was intended for business use by maybe people who aren't super versed in maybe bivariate symbology or GIS in general. So I think it's very clear and easy to read, and an easy one to explain in a presentation.
Rachel, did you want to say say something about your map there?
Sure. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. So first of all, thank you so very much. And I'm excited to hear your critiques of my map because I don't get a lot of map critique from my peers from my industry. So thank you. Awesome. I'm thinking about the legend design and yeah, I can see what you mean. And I would probably try that on the next map. And I think Anna's point about like, yeah, she's seen this before and it's for business use is correct. I did present this map in a different format with a white background for a lightning talk a couple months ago. And the point about it being for business use is also important to know. Like I work in state government in the South, and they are very much not used to seeing maps like this. This is a bold move for my agency, actually. And the really cool thing about this map and its meaning to me is I inherited a program in a state agency when I took this job, and it's been mine to develop since I joined in June 2022. And so I have been bit by bit building up a foundation of a GIS program for a state agency, and that we got to the point where I'm making bivariate maps because my boss asked me to for a professional presentation he was giving to other government officials last fall. That was really exciting. And so the point about it being simple and clear and effective is exactly what we were trying to do because we know this is different for our audience. And so we work really hard to take the data that we work with and keep it punchy so that they get used to new types of things like this. So when I saw there was a map contest open, I was like, I don't get to see a lot of bivariate maps in professional settings, and it felt like it just fit the category that I got to submit to. So very exciting that I won. Thank you so much, and I'm really happy to be here.
Rachel, can I ask a question? How did the presentation go? Was it well, what did people understand what they were looking at?
Yes, and not only did it go well the first time, my boss keeps recycling this map in every presentation he's been giving all spring. He had to give like 4 different presentations our agency had assigned to him at different parts of the state. And like he is just excited to keep talking about this map. So it's been very well received. He comes back from these meetings and keeps telling me like they got stuck on this slide because they just want to keep talking about it. So yes, it's been effective. And my office is known for doing a lot of data on health and human services and demographics. We run the state data center for the Census Bureau out of South Carolina at this agency. So they know about this data really well, census data, but they're not used to having it communicated visually like this. So it's like, I'm not the one that regularly gets to do the talking about these maps. But my boss knows what the data is and is excited to talk about it. And he's just like trying to show it off every chance he gets. So yeah, that's why I was like, yeah, this would be a good one to show off.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations
thank you.
again, Rachel. I'm so glad you were able to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie.
Thanks. All right. You guys ready to go on to the next one after that? Yeah. Okay. Now we're getting into the emerging professionals and students. This one has a special place in my heart because I have a thing for wetlands. But here we go. The student artistic map, Maria Vittoria's Santarelli's. Where could wetlands make the biggest impact? Judges. Jen, you're unmuted, so do you want to jump in first?
I need to mute myself. Well, just overall, the colors on this are just beautiful. It's a very nice looking map. The little vignettes pulled out make it very easy to see what's going on. One criticism when I was looking at this before, I was like, oh, there's a little bit of a difference between the colors that are in the vignettes and the main map, but not enough that it was difficult to understand or anything like that. I like how the graphics are faded back in the background, so you still have a little bit more information in there, a little bit of pretty pictures type of thing, but it's not overwhelming the map totally. Next.
Is it transparency? Is that what's going on with
Maybe.
the colors?
Maybe. Yeah, it's just a little bit different.
Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. I
Oh,
didn't
there
realize
you
I
go.
could.
Yeah, so oh, and I also in the little vignettes too, the I'm just gonna totally forget the word I'm looking for here, the lines that represent the water. Help me. What is that called?
Hatcher.
The
Hatcher.
is it Hatcher?
The
Yeah, I
coastline?
googled it. It's in my notes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's a really nice effect on the water to give a little bit of depth and differentiation.
Adding to that, I really like the images of the birds and the vegetation. I didn't know what to call that. The wheat? I don't know.
Cattails.
Cattails. Ah, yes. Another thing that I really like is the cattails in the background that spans the entire height of the graphics. I like that it's on a low transparency so that they're very subtle, but it helps cover the page. So like if you imagine taking those off, the poster doesn't look as filled in. So that's something I really like about this. What about you, Anna?
I like that too. I really love photos on maps. I think that makes it, it just draws the viewer in a way that just geography, outlines of countries doesn't. And I love the muted background with the darker images on top. I might have, because this is only the UK, I think you could probably clip out the rest of the geography and just limit it to the UK. And then the title, this is such a beautiful map and I really love it. I think everything works very well together, but the title says, where could wetlands make the biggest impact? And I guess I have to like think a little bit about it and I have to read everything. If with a title like that, I would assume that the map maker is going to tell me explicitly which type of these maybe is going to make the biggest impact. Is it so urban well-being, flood resilience, water quality, carbon sequestration, those are the positive impacts of wetlands, but where do they make the biggest impact? I guess you sort of have to process the entire map to answer that question. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I read it. That's interesting you said that because I read it as these are the 4 areas that they could make the biggest impact. But you're right. The title. So thinking about what your title is important because it could be misconstrued. All right. Anything else on the wetlands?
Yeah, like, is it where geographically or how, does where imply how? In what case would they make the biggest impact?
Just wanted to also touch up on color blindness here. That's something we haven't discussed yet in the session. So for every single map, all 33 of them, I ran it through a colorblind tester to see if it's colorblind accessible. And this map in particular is accessible for a few of the blindness categories, but it's not accessible, for example, red blind color. So like the orange and the green are the same color, and then the dark blue and the light blue are very similar. And you can't really differentiate that in the map. So that is something to consider, but I know that the more colors you have, the harder it is to pick colors that stand out from each other. So
Wanmei, do you have a link that you could share for that tester? Because I think that would come in handy.
yeah, absolutely.
And if
There
I
you
know,
go.
awesome. And I know ArcGIS Pro has it built in where you can test on like 3 different ones. I think it's just 3 different color blindness. So that one probably that you have there, Wame, is probably have a lot more. But yeah, so excellent tip to keep in mind color blindness and accessibility. Anything else? All right. Let's go on to the emerging professional traditional map. Diana Jivas, I should have pronounced her name correctly. Is she here today? No. Maybe. I don't know if Diana iPhone is our Diana, the winner or not. Anyway, here's her amazing map, Mapping the Heat, 2 decades of change, unveiling 20 years of summer LST trends across Washington and Baltimore metro areas. Who wants to jump in?
I'll say figure to ground again. The subject matter just jumps right out. I really like how the geography around it and the water is really faded back and even really dark for the water. So everything just kind of falls away and you're looking at data straight on. I'm gonna let you guys pepper it and I'll come up with some other stuff too.
First of all, it's very beautiful. When I look at it, it's like, ooh, what is this about? And I like that she used MODIS data because that is something that I use very often at NASA. MODIS is a NASA product. And I know how difficult it is to work with the data too. So extra points for the level of difficulty with the data. And a few, one thing I like is the dark base map because it the Washington area really pops out against the dark base map. But at the same time, the dark base map is a little bit problematic because of the blue on the legend, it's basically the same color. It's hard for, people without color blindness to differentiate between them. And when I ran it through the colorblind test, it was hard to see that there was even data there. It just looks like it was part of the base map. And another quick little criticism is the legend. I think that there are too many categories, and when I look at this map, I can't even tell what this blue dot, which blue dot it is on the legend. So those are just a few comments, but overall, amazing.
I agree. I think that you could have either enlarged the grid and had it be more effective, or removed the border of the grid so that you didn't have the stroke outline of each of those pixels. And that might have helped. But yeah, there's a little too many types of hot spots and cold spots to differentiate quickly. And you know what? It would be really fun to turn this into an interactive map, so you can just click to your heart's content and zoom in or around and check things out. But I think that the palette is one of my favorite palettes. The sort of dark red to dark blue, I think, is really, well, obviously effective in this case because you're analyzing heat, but it's also really nice to look at.
This is something really, really simple, but I like how the text at the top is justified, the spacing, the letter spacing of the main title versus the secondary title. It's just nice, easy to read, and yeah, I think that titles and text on maps are sometimes very difficult to get in a pleasing manner. Like we tend to just kind of stack things together and have it justified one way or something like that. And I think this is a nice way to kind of spread it across the entire width of the map, but it's still incredibly readable.
One minor thing is I don't right off the bat know what LST means, and I might not include that in the subtitle without defining it first.
Point.
But you could do graphically. You could do that in a, call out somewhere.
Yes. Andrea pointed that out in the chat too. Thanks, Andrea, about not knowing what LST stood for.
Oh, yeah.
The grids on this makes it looks like a cross stitch. So it's kind of,
Yeah, it does.
that's what I thought of when I first saw it. Maybe I'm just too much in the cross stitch, but there you go. I think it's neat.
I wanted to go back to the title really quick. I think the kerning on the top title can be a little bit more squished, because when I was reading it, I was going, because there's a lot of spaces between each letter, I was sort of reading it as mapping the heat to like that, versus the bottom is unveiling 20 years of, you just read it faster because your brain is able to fill in the letters as you read the first parts of the word.
So
maybe you need to have some more drama in your inner dialogue. Be like, mapping the heat to decades of change.
So does everybody know what kerning is? Wanmei, do you want to explain that a little bit? So just in case.
Yeah, kerning is just the spacing between the letters. So the first title, the kerning is larger. There's a bigger space between the letters. And then second title, there's less kerning between the space of the letters, and because this poster is horizontal, and when you print it out, it's like really long. And the top one is just a little bit harder to read.
Another aspect of kerning too is not just the spacing, but when you have, say you have an A and a W next to each other, and if you had no kerning, they would be just like right next to each other. And if you had kerning, that A might be snugged up next to the W a little bit, you know, so that the slant of the A would be underneath the slant of the W a little. That makes sense.
And I wanted to back up a little bit. So Jen, I think people might have figured this out already, but a couple times you said, you know, what do you call it? Graphic to ground?
Figure to ground. Yeah.
Figure to ground. And so you want to explain that just a little bit about what you look at for that?
Most of the time, well, there's several different ways to do it. So you want the subject of your map to pop out. So that's your figure. And then everything that's laying behind it is the ground. And so in the case of this, most of the area, particularly around the outer edges of the geography there, is white or light colored compared to the dark blue background. So you have a really good differentiation between them. As the others were saying, where you get that blue kind of running up against the darker blue of the background, then it's not as much of a difference there. But overall, like when you first look at this map, my eye does not go to the title or the legend. It goes to these two bright white spaces in there. And that's exactly where your eye should go, to the subject matter. And then you can go, oh, what is this about? Oh, heat, you know? So yeah, that is something that I'm always looking for, like clarity in whatever I do. I want it to be easy to read. I don't want somebody to kind of miss any detail because it's faded back or de-emphasized where it should be emphasized.
All right. Well, okay, so congratulations to the winning maps. Now I know, so our judges, you know, they may have had a favorite that, or something that one of them that really stood out for you guys. And so I'd like for maybe you had like an overall favorite, or just one or two maps that really stood out for you. Would you guys like to share a special map? And I could, if it's not one of our winners already.
Could you
I'm
scroll
gonna-
down to the grid in the
Absolutely.
cool?
So
This was nice that you guys put where all the maps were coming from. That is very, very cool.
shout out to our volunteer, Chris Richter. She put together this amazing story map for us. So yes,
Yay! Could you go down to the next section?
absolutely.
Yay. Because here we can see a bunch of them at once.
Yes. So this is career, artistic, and traditional, and the emerging professional, artistic ones. I mean, look at these amazing maps. Just
I
scrolling
know,
through
I
them.
have one. I know immediately.
Okay.
My absolute favorite from the entire competition was the route of Lance Corporals Blake and Schofield.
That's
Pass it.
very cool. That's at the top. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Where was it?
Erica Fagan's.
One more.
This
There you
one?
go. Yep.
That was a career artistic category. I've never even seen this movie, but I'm going to now. I just absolutely love like how like the level of like obsession and dorkiness for someone to love a movie so much to do this. I just love that so much. But the map is there's two different timelines here, and how cool is that she figured out a way to show the movie timeline and then the actual events that took place during the movie in a subset of the timeline, but also have so that the events are spaced geographically pretty far apart, but she was effectively able to create these pop-outs that show in the detail of each of these areas where so much happened in close proximity and time, temporally and geographically. The theme of the map, the the design, the fonts, the colors, all are reminiscent of like throwing a, you know, scrappy piece of paper on a field table in the middle of a field and hashing out where you're going to put your troops. Um, and I think she worked in the different the British and the German forces and how they were interacted. I think that she worked those in really geniusly with the color schemes, and then her trenches, like, oh, that's so cool. It's just so like the weird veiny kind of trenches are just very cool and unique. And yeah, I guess like I said, like one of my favorite parts of this map is the dual timeline and how effective it is.
I really like this one too. I spent a lot of time like zoomed in and ooh, look at that, and following this and so on. And it was, there's a lot of information in there, and it's yeah, it is brilliant. And then just on a how did you do that part, like, you know, how like I don't have any of the Adobe tools. I don't have any graphic stuff. And so I'm like looking at, you know, the folds in the paper and how like the K in Blake follows the fold and everything, like those tiny details I just thought were amazing.
This was real quick. So this was Garrett Robinger was one of our other judges, and unfortunately he was unable to join us today. But he did send me a note this morning, and he wanted to give out a shout out to this map as well. And he said, I wanted to recognize the effort it took to gather the data from the movie, as well as the style. The stylization is reminiscent of a war map. So just pretty much what echoes what Anna just said. Sorry, Juan May. Oh,
I was just gonna say 100% what the judges said. Nothing to add. Y'all did it perfectly.
One other thing I do want to talk about is how is the midnight line. If you notice, that's right on the crease there, and that's when midnight starts. So that's the start of a new day there, where that more dense hashing, just that the abrupt transition between no hashing to or dotting to the dense dotting, and then that grades to no dotting again. I think that's really unique and cool. And then she uses that same technique on the secondary timeline. Yeah, I'm fangirling all over this map. I love it.
Erica here today? No, okay. So she'll see this on the recording about you guys fanning over this one. All right.
Another one that I kind of liked was the second one, the points from Lake. What is
This
it?
one?
Yeah.
Valleys.
This one?
Champlain. There we go. I couldn't remember which. I just think it's an interesting way to show all these different things with the octagons. And it's pretty. The colors are gorgeous. But I thought it was an interesting way to do this type of detail. Thought it was nifty.
I could see this hanging in places in Vermont and as like a poster or wall art.
Mm-hmm.
It is very, very neat, very unique.
Definitely.
All right.
Cool.
Anna or Juan May, you have another one you want to highlight? I'm going to keep scrolling.
So in this group, the two to the right of the winner, I thought were both, I like them both a lot. They were pretty, just very clear. I love the picture of the hawk. On this one, let me see if I can remember. So we have it differentiated between winter, spring, summer, and fall, but also I thought in the text, let me look here. Oh, I might be forgetting something. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Ignore that. I just thought this was a very pretty one, and that hawk is awesome. Oh, I know what it was. Sorry. It's in the biggest text in the body there. The young hawks fly far, the adult hawks stay home. The map doesn't really show those ages, and I was wondering if there's a way to combine both the ages of the hawk and the season, because it's mentioned, but it doesn't show up. I don't see where you're getting that type of thing.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, I like this one too. I think that those colors are not differentiable. I don't even know if that's the right word, but it's really hard to discern the colors between all the seasons on the map, on the main map itself.
Agreed.
Hard.
I also like, yeah, the next one. Again, simplicity for me. It's easy to read. You see exactly what's going on. You've got like a little bit of data in there. And I just love the little hummingbirds. Those guys are awesome. So yeah, I thought this was another just generally pleasing looking map.
Nice. All right. Any others you guys want to highlight?
I want to highlight the map that was done by the 2-year-old. Sorry, up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, whoop, nope, down, same group that we were just in. It's underneath the Rufus hummingbird.
Oh, this one. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so anybody who knows me, or if anybody has ever taken, when I had the fortune to be an instructor for the GIST program at the University of Arizona, and I did cartography and also presentations, and I told my students, anybody who uses Comic Sans automatically gets like a low grade because of the particular exercise that we were working on. But this is a great way to use Comic Sans. This is a map from a 2-year-old. This is his opinion. So like I think this is an appropriate use of Comic Sans. I just had to throw that out there because everybody knows that I'm just like, no, Comic Sans. So yeah, I just want to throw that out there.
Love it. Agree. What other tips do you guys have for for budding cartographers and things that could have, like, if you wanted any of these maps, maybe if you could have done it a little differently, how would you have done it? Or just even some tips, without maybe calling something out specifically, but
I can give some tips.
Go for it.
So one of the first things I do when I got into map making was whenever I saw a map or even just a graphic of like a restaurant menu or something, I asked myself the following questions. One, is this clear? Do I understand this in 2 seconds? I feel like I've repeated that 3 times in this webinar already, but it is so important. And then the second question I asked is, what do I like about this map? And I would consciously point stuff out, like the color or the labels or the title or, whatever graphics they have on there. Just like consciously point stuff out that you can like store in your brain for the next time you make a map. And then the third question I ask is, what do you not like about this map? Is it because it's just a stylistic thing, or because it makes the map not legible? So like, some people might use hot pink, but that would make sense for like a T-Mobile map because their brand is hot pink. But like just consciously point out things that you don't like because it doesn't work or look nice on a map, and also store those in your brain. for the next time you make a map. And the last question, well, not really a question, but is just to always look at people's maps whenever you're scrolling on Blue Sky or LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever. Always run through those 3 questions. I do it every single time I turn on an app. It's just something that I do now, but those things really helped me become a better cartographer.
Also, just hanging on to examples you think are awesome, like literally make a folder and start throwing cool maps inside that folder. Because when you start off making something, unless you automatically you're like, oh, I have this data, I know exactly how I'm going to do this. A lot of times I like will Google like, you know, map of whatever I'm trying to do and see what other people have done. Sometimes you come up with somebody is doing it a way that you wouldn't have thought of, and you're like, oh, that's interesting, maybe I should explore that. So you know, it's not stealing, it's appreciation of others efforts, and using them as examples, and using that to kind of drive your ideas, I think is a really good way to do it too.
Excellent point. And to build on that, one resource that I use for map inspirations is the David Rumsey collection. So many thousands and thousands and thousands of maps in there, and you can search it by like the area that you're mapping and see what cartographers have done in the past. And like Jen said, it's not copying. Like every single cartographic technique has probably already been used out there. And it's just a matter of mixing and matching what you like to find your own style. And I also have a folder of just National Geographic maps because everybody's inspired by those. And if you have a public library near you, you might want to check to see if they could give you full access to all of the National Geographic magazines in digital form. So I'm in Los Angeles, California, and I actually have access to every single magazine. So whenever I have free time, I just flip through them and just save all of the maps. And it comes really in handy when you're sort of stuck, kind of like writer's block, but cartographer's block.
Do you have a link to the Zeke? Oh,
Just threw it in
okay.
there.
I thought it was a David Rumsey. Okay, that's what I thought you were talking about. Okay. Thank you. Anna.
Yeah, that's a really good summary. I would add a couple of points on top of what One May said about resources. I have a ridiculous number of coffee table books about maps. Even ones that are completely obscure that I find in like, you know, thrift stores, or they're maybe not even maps. Maybe it's a book about graphic design or whatever. And it is absolutely 100% inevitable that you will have a block, artist block at some point, or you need some kind of inspiration. And just looking through, just flipping through, you're like, God, what am I going to do for the border? Or what am I going to do for the cartouche or whatever? And just getting some really fun ideas. I do that almost every day. And then I also keep an archive of my favorite maps, whether it's a bookmark or just, you know, on my computer. And then what One May said about, do I understand this in 2 seconds? I do agree with that in part, but I also think that when I look at something, I think, do I want to engage with this in 2 seconds? Because some pieces might take a little longer to digest and figure out what's going on. Like I'm looking at this, I don't know how to say this, Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. This was another one of my favorite maps. And it's part of a series that this whose is it?
I think it's in the first group, maybe.
It's the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. I just want to give her credit. Stephanie Pelletier. It was a career artistic map. I think that there's kind of a lot going on here, but the hierarchy, the visual hierarchy, allows you time to figure it out. You know, like the last thing I kind of land on is the elevation gradient down at the bottom, which is really well done. There's some call outs where you're just like, where's this Greensboro inset map? Oh, it's right there. And where are we in space? Oh, it's this center inset map. You know, this map takes a little bit longer to figure out what's going on, but I think it's still really effective. And those were the two things that I wanted to just add on. But I would say another thing is, and I think either Wanmei or Jennifer mentioned this, is that when you're, so think about your theme, okay? So like that red tail hawk theme, obviously there's red points because it's a red tail hawk. You know, or like the wetlands map, those colors are very naturalistic and reminiscent of being out in nature. Try to incorporate your branding, your theme, your fonts, everything into the map so that it's seamless and it engages and retains the attention of the viewer. So I remember really wanting to make a oblique panoramic map for a map that I was doing, and you know, Tom Patterson's oblique panoramic maps, where it's sort of like a bird's eye view, and he's like, don't do it unless you absolutely need to do it and you have the budget, because it's an extra 30% budget, because you know, do you need to do it or do you just want to do it? So I didn't end up doing it. Actually, I did like, you know, fiddle with it too much and burn a bunch of budget. Well, actually I didn't bill for the hours, but you know, like you may really want to do a technique, but it may not be applicable to the theme or the style that you're, or the audience that you are working on.
Audience, that's a really key point right there. The audience. That makes sense, Wame.
Yeah, just so the people in the recording knows what I'm saying, I just wanted to clarify that what I said about understanding a map in 2 seconds, I just mean, oh, it is a map about trails. The entirety of the map obviously takes more time, but the main point is, oh, it's about trails. Gotcha.
The first initial grabbing your attention and saying, "Oh, I want to check this out," that sort of thing too.
Mhm.
Cool. We have like 4 minutes left. Do you guys have anything, or do you want to take a question? If anybody has a question from the audience. Did you want to add something, Anna or Jen or Wame?
I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I'm happy to answer pointed questions.
Yeah, does anybody in our audience have any pointed questions you want to ask our esteemed judges? We've shown a lot here and a lot of great techniques, a lot of great tips.
So I have a question. Do you guys have specific like north arrows that you always use? Like, do you have a favorite? Does it usually work in the maps that you're doing, or do you change it up all the time? Or any other kind of technique that you carry from map to map to map?
That
I'm
shows
gonna
you.
be the wild child and say that I don't use north arrows on my maps. If you look at my personal maps on my LinkedIn and everything, there's no north arrows on them. For work, it's a different story. We have, different standards for that, but I tend to not put north arrows on maps ever.
Yeah, that's, what did they say? The North Arrow, Scale, and Legend are your triumvirate that you have to have on every map. And I think that's kind of been blown out of the water because you know, for many, many, many maps, you recognize the geography. You don't need to know which way is north. And but like One May said, for certain applications, like if it's going to be for the it's going to be like going to a congressperson or the public, I'll do a scale in a north arrow. But I north arrows. I actually just started a project where working on a trail system in Maine, and I'm going to do a custom north arrow because it warrants it, because it's a really pretty beautiful area with beautiful trails with a lot of unique attributes, and I'm just gonna do a custom one.
Stalking your social media so I can see that when you do it.
Okay.
Juan May, can you explain? Rebecca wants to know why you don't use north arrows. Just curious.
I like to color outside of the lines. For me, it's because like the maps that I post, people aren't going to use it for navigation. So what's the point?
Also, I think a lot of the stuff that you do, just seeing it on LinkedIn and stuff, you're covering a big enough portion of the earth that you don't necessarily need to know that north is up, because you can see the coastline of California, or whatever it may be. You have the context to be able to figure out if you really needed to know which way is north. Yeah, she's totally a rebel.
Even if it's a really small area, like unless it's for navigation, do you really need to know which way is north? Like, how does that help you?
Yeah, it depends on the application. And if it was a really big area, which way is north anyway? It depends on your projection. So,
Right.
yeah.
True. That is true. Yes. Ariel posted a blog from, I assume that's John Nelson. Did you listed that out there about North Arrow necessity?
John Nelson.
So, yeah.
The ultimate
Cool.
rebel. Map rebel.
Creatives are always rebels. All right. So any last final words of wisdom that you guys have that you want to pass on before we wrap this up? We're at the top of our hour.
Was this the first time there's been a map contest for the women in GIS?
Yes, this was the first ever. And the entries are amazing. I like I said, you guys, I appreciate you judging all of these. Thank you so much for your time and expertise in reviewing all these amazing maps. I don't know how you did it, because there's a lot of really great entries.
And huge kudos to Jamie for, making this happen.
Yeah.
Well, it took a team. It's a team effort. So yeah, I just herded the cats.
I think my advice is just to start making maps. Just think of something that you want to map and just do it, and start creating your portfolio and follow your creativity. Give yourself the space to foster your creativity, because if you're really tired or burnt out or not getting enough, outside time, that really impacts my creativity. So take care of yourself, foster your creative spirit, and follow your heart.
Great advice.
I'm totally not going to follow up with anything after that, because that was wonderful.
My follow-up would be that you ladies are amazing, and let's go make some maps and have more lady cartographers out there.
Right on. All right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Go make some beautiful maps and share them with us, and look forward to seeing all the work that you guys do in the future and next year's map contest. All right.
Jennifer, I'll stay on so we can chat.
Okay, cool.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.